Welcome to NAP Training. This series of NAP training videos is meant to guide you through the NAP handbook from cover to cover. As we move through, you'll notice that we don't cover each paragraph fully. This training is meant to be a summarized guide to the program and not replace the need for actually opening up the book to find your answers. After completing this training series, you'll have a comprehensive overview of the NAP program and know where to look to find answers to common NAP questions. To begin, let's take a look at the NAP handbook's layout and features. The table of contents breaks down the content of the book into parts, sections, and individual paragraphs. At the end of the table of contents are the exhibits. Exhibit 1 and 2 are common between most handbooks. Exhibit 1 will list out the reports, forms, abbreviations, and if applicable, the redelegations of authority granted in a certain handbook. Exhibit 2 is going to list out the definitions of terms used inside of that specific handbook. So what is NAP? NAP stands for the Non-Insured Crop Disaster Assistance Program. It's meant to provide a farmer an opportunity to try and reduce the financial losses that can occur when there's a disaster of some kind. Is it insurance? Not exactly. As the name of the program implies, this is a program to help with non-insurable crops. Crop insurance is a product offered to producers through the Risk Management Agency, RMA, on specific insurable crops. But when you're talking to a producer, it's sometimes helpful to refer to the program as a sort of insurance for their crops. One very important distinction, however, is that NAP is not meant to replace the lost income that a producer would have gotten for the crop. Instead, NAP helps a producer to recover some of the expenses they incurred while growing the crop. Again, NAP does not guarantee revenues, it helps to recover expenses. In every handbook under the basic information, you're going to find sources of authority, which tells you the regulation that governs that particular program, as well as any related handbook. You'll notice that the text in this section is all bold. That tells you that the body is actually coming directly from federal regulations, identified here as 7 CFR. Most times, the text that's found here is going to be simplified or repeated again elsewhere in the handbook and provide you with a little bit more context. This paragraph is going to show you which units of measure are accepted by the program and also tells you how those units are expressed, whether in whole numbers or in fractions. Pounds, for example, are identified as whole numbers, while tons and hundredweights are taken out 2 decimal points to the hundredths. Paragraph 6 outlines the COC's responsibilities. First and foremost, the COC is responsible for that the program is administered fairly to all producers and with the full integrity of the program itself being upheld. The COC is also responsible for ensuring that all determinations related to specific applications are thoroughly documented in COC minutes. The COC is also responsible for ensuring that second-party reviews are conducted on all applications for payment before the payments are actually issued. The COC must ensure that they are satisfied that the payment has been calculated properly before they actually issue the payment. Paragraph 7 lists out the CED's responsibilities. The primary responsibility of the CED is ensuring that the day-to-day operations of the NAP program are executed and that the staff responsible for executing those programs are thoroughly trained. Paragraph 8 lists out the producer responsibilities. These responsibilities are outlined broadly in this paragraph, but for a more specific list of what the producer is responsible for doing, you can look at CCC 471 Basic Provisions. We provide producers, when they sign up for the NAP program, with a copy of the basic provisions so that they can be fully aware of what's expected and required of them. Basically, the producer is responsible for signing up for the program, accurately reporting their acreage, certifying their production each year. In the event that there is a loss, they're responsible for filing a notice of loss on the accepted application, the CCC 576. They're also responsible for informing the county office within 72 hours of completing harvest of hand-harvested crops. For NAP, most vegetable crops are going to be hand-harvested, and so this is a very common requirement of our producers. It's also the least intuitive of all the steps, so it's important that you communicate it with the producer fully, both at the time of sign-up as well as when they are filing their notice of loss. Additionally, it's not a bad idea to include a reminder about that responsibility in periodic emails that you send out or Gov delivery bulletins. Paragraph 9 lists out the NAP life cycle. In the life cycle, there can be as many as 9 different steps. Not every NAP application is going to go through all 9 steps in a given year, but it is possible. Paragraph B is a nice illustration of that life cycle in a cyclical form that is helpful for illustrating to a producer. I recommend that you actually keep a copy of it up at the front counter because it can help to explain what the responsibilities of a producer are under the NAP program. Paragraph 10 lists out the different deadlines for the NAP program. You'll notice that there are no actual calendar dates for any of the due dates. This is because those dates are going to be crop specific. Different crops could have very different dates of reporting. As such, it's important that you are aware of these deadlines and how they can change from crop to crop. It's very rare that you'll have to send anything to Washington, D.C. In the event that you do, you will probably be partnering with your district director or the state specialist before you send anything. However, paragraph 11 does list out the correct way of formatting your communications and who to direct them to. Paragraph 12 introduces us to the CCC 770 NAP. Most programs we administer have some sort of a checklist associated with them. The 770 NAP is used to help ensure that the basic NAP rules and procedures are followed before administering payments to producers. This form should be placed in the producer's NAP folder and completed prior to issuing any payment. This is also where the CED and/or the district director will document that they've reviewed the file. You can use a single 770 to record the information for multiple crops as long as they are all part of the same disaster event and claimed on the same notice of loss. Separate claims should have their own 770 completed. It's also important to know that the 770 is not comprehensive and it does not address all of the considerations you need to make when administering this program. Do not rely solely on the 770. Here's an example of the 770. You'll notice that it is broken down into 3 columns. The first column lists out office staff's actions. The second column gives you the handbook reference that applies to that particular action. And then the third column gives you space to indicate was the action completed, yes, no, or not applicable. On page 2, you'll see that there is space for the signature of the preparer. There are actually 4 spaces because if there are multiple preparers of this document, each of them should sign this form. There's also a space for the CED signature when they complete a spot check, as well as space to indicate if they concur or do not concur with the 770's content. There's a similar line for the district director when they do their spot check as well. The remarks section is a good place to keep notes or questions that the CED or the district director might have related to that particular 770. And that's it for part 1. You made it through it. We're going to be looking at part 2 in the next video, available coverage. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for how we could improve it, please feel free to leave a comment. Thanks again.